Okay, morning everybody. How are you guys doing? Is the pressure being brought up? Sick and tired, okay. Very good. So, how many people of you are still in positive spirits? I can see that 30% is in positive spirits, not more than that. And how many people of you have any idea of what's going on in this workshop? That's 5%. I can see 5%. Taras, maybe that's a half. A half, yes. Okay, that's good. It also applies to us. What we want to do at this point is show you a video which I assume a lot of you will have seen before. But we wanted to show it to you anyway because it communicates an important aspect of our approach. And it's a fun thing to look at anyway. And if you haven't seen it, it's something you should have seen. It's the powers of 10. How many people know about the powers of 10? Only one. Okay. You people might want to come forward to be able to look at it. Because it's over there and it's very small. Are you sure? Okay. The video crew will have to take a frog perspective. Can you take a frog perspective, please, with your camera? Can somebody communicate to the video guy that he should take, or take a worm perspective? A worm perspective. Okay, and there's no sound, so we're taking that away.
Тоже хочет прицениться, читать его страницы ВКонтакте. Блин. Какое было? Почему не хочет? Это не что худее онлайн. Что?
Звезды Онтарио.
Это обратно. Это уже неудобно.
Подозревает, что правая рука в центре мира. Ролик «Как связать космос и биомет».
Okay, that's the end of the movie. And the reason why we're showing this movie is, I hope, pretty obvious. And I think it's an amazing movie. I've been talking to architects who told me, in my entire education, I didn't learn anything at university but the existence of this movie. And there's some big powers hiding within there. It's very old, so to some of you it might seem a little bit amateuristic with drawings, but it's based on an even older book by made in the 50s by a Dutch educational innovator aimed at kids. So it was a book with pages, with pictures and drawings of the same sequence, but not as many of them, aimed at young kids to teach them about the universe, but also the the nano world, and the remarkable similarity between them. The reason why we think it's very appropriate, because it also deals with zooming in and zooming out. And what makes it very relevant to this workshop is that it deals with what happens in relation to context when you're looking at something from a certain distance, or you zoom in or zoom out. What does that do with the context? And by introducing this reframing concept, which is literally the frame of reference is drawn in the movie, we're trying to search for connections between things. In this case, between a spaceship and OtUS, of course. Some of you may have noticed that earlier that there's a remarkable similarity, and of course this is what we were after. But basically it's not very important whether we are designing a spaceship or whatever. It could have been anything. So there have been a lot of questions from persons in this workshop, and also from the staff. Usually a little bit worried. What are we doing? What is the objective? What is the aim? What will we learn? What will they learn? That's coming from the staff. Let us recap the process we've been going through in an attempt to shed a little bit of light on that. And on day one, we delivered a brief to all of you and an assignment, and we formed groups. And the forming of groups is a very important part of our workshop. We think working in groups, we did that deliberately, is a sophisticated skill. To be able to work in a group is really, we think is very vital for you to learn. And it will take you a long time before you can do it. Some people are talented and they're easy, but they still will have to deal with others who are not that good. So this is something we just hope to touch upon. We're not going to learn how to work in a group in 1 week, obviously, but we just want to stress the fact how important it is, especially if you're dealing with extremely complicated assignments and projects, which is probably most of you will be working on in the future. So you can design something very simple, a toothbrush or a spoon on your own, no problem, but not something as a cockpit for a new rocket or a new energy source for combustion engine. That sort of stuff is group work. So you better become good at it and find your personal strength and the obvious role that you can play in a group like that. So you may receive a lot of lectures on how to work in groups, but these will only help you to fine-tune. The real learning stuff is done by doing, so you have to do it. On day 2, we were working on the spaceships, and we were gradually making it more interesting by starting to think about how can we endure an extended period in space with a certain amount of people. How can we make it interesting? And most of you started by throwing up ideas reflected on your personal interests, and grounded in your own desires and hobbies. And in day 3, we asked you, it was yesterday, to pitch your ideas to another group. And we hope some of you started to feel how valuable that can be. Not to pitch your stuff at an expert or a super famous philosopher or whatever, because what are you getting back from these people might be not the stuff you can do something with. If you pitch your stuff to a peer or somebody slightly more advanced than you, it may be much more rewarding. And we hope that everybody will do this in their future work, if you're stuck, or if you just want to know what other people think, just tell somebody, a random person, maybe your dad, or just tell them what you're doing. And they don't even need to respond. Yesterday we did respond, and we hope people will be responding with stuff that can make your pitch better. But very often, just the fact of the act of discussing, telling somebody what you're doing, will set your mind free. But it's not easy, because most people will, it's not finished, I have to finish it first. And when I'm finished, then I will tell them about it. But it might take weeks before you're finished. So even if it's unfinished, tell them about it. Let me see where I am. What may have happened yesterday is, by pitching it back, you may have been encountered with the fact that although you thought you were building a great spaceship, the other group may said, sounds interesting, but I'm not going up there, because the spaceship was designed for yourselves and not necessarily for other people. And bear in mind that the other people are people very much like you. They're also technologists, the same universities. But what if these people would have been in a sports academy or painters? They would have probably had no interest at all in going up there. So if you feel you need sports people up there, there's something you should do to attract them. And this is coming to a very complicated point in development, is trying to develop something for other people than yourselves. Let me flip the page. The next step was to start to think about, probably fueled by the reservations by the other groups in the pitch you got back, what are the problems associated with our ideas. And initially we found that most people start to think about problems related to technology. So how can we build an engine? What if the fuel runs out? What if we pollute the earth with our nuclear energy? These are very real problems. But there are also much more what I would call mundane problems, normal problems, the small problems that you really have to solve in your design in order to be successful. So we introduced the three categories: the business problems, technological problems, and social cultural problems. And in reality, there are many more areas, but these three we just singled out. And we've been discussing stuff, and at some point we decided these technological problems, anybody who's competing with you on the same project will face the same problems. And technology in the future will not be something that certain parties own and others don't. So in the years behind us, companies like Sony would own the transistor, for instance. They would invent the transistor, and they were the only ones who would have a transistor, and they could make very tiny audio equipment, giving them an edge for a couple of years. This situation is gradually disappearing. Patents are being challenged. The whole idea of owning inventions is not likely to be a sustainable thing. There are huge parts of the world where ownership is totally ignored, and this part of the world at the same time is the most interesting market. So at some point we will have to share stuff. We will have to share technology, and meaning that there is no difference in the technology. If you look at, for instance, the iPhone and the Samsung thing, 20 years ago Samsung would have lost any lawsuit regarding the design, for instance. But these days they can continue for years to fight about whether it's different or not. And at this point they lost, at least in Holland, but in the future you can forget about it. So the design and the technology will no longer be a decisive factor in your success. The success will be in things as, what does this do for your way of life type of thing. So this is why Apple is currently a successful company. They are able to connect with the way of life we are willing to lead. And the technology everybody can tell you that the technology inside an Apple is not especially, it's not even cutting edge. Most of the competition is doing better in processor speed and those things, but we don't care. We want to have that kind of stuff. So what we've seen yesterday in these lists with problems is that initially people had long lists in the technological area and maybe very little in the social culture, meaning that either they didn't think of anything or that they thought solving these was not their business. And I hope we are slowly entering a phase where we understand that if it's not our business, whose business is it? Nobody is going, the investor is not going to deal with it. It's the business of the developers to deal with those things. Other groups had extensive lists in there, and that's an interesting thing to be witnessing. So, again, in this field you will decide to what level you are managing to design something for people completely unlike yourself. This is the big talent you should be developing. How can you design your space station for a cancer patient receiving treatment up there? There was some group over there dealing with cancer patients. This is extremely difficult, but that's where you're going to decide whether your spaceship has a competitive edge over the rest. So, today we're in day 4, and as we are gradually becoming more and more exhausted, also because of the party things, but especially because of the very, very extensive program, which is completely crammed from 9 o'clock until 11. We are really beginning to feel the pressure. You, but also us. And some of you may decide to drop out, or maybe even get sick. And this is a thing that you will witness in any project where the going really gets tough. I mean, if the going doesn't get tough, then the project is probably not very important or not very interesting. Usually there is time restrictions, money restrictions, all sort of restrictions that cause people to collapse or to go on. This is also a group thing, because whether somebody is going to collapse or not is largely dependent on the behavior of the others. So take care of that. If you see somebody in your group slowly sinking into oblivion, and help him out. He may be important for you later on. Don't let him perish. If you see that your captain, your leader, is behaving like a alpha monkey, talk to him about it. You will have an alpha monkey in your next job, and you might not be able to deal with him, but you cannot leave your job every time you meet an alpha monkey, because the reality is in most situations there will be an alpha monkey over there, behaving good or bad, but try to deal with it. Try to learn how to be responsive to a situation like that. If you have a person in your group who is very shy, deal with it. Learn to deal with it. If you're shy yourself, find a way to live with it. So, the reason why you should do that is because this group is the only way you're going to survive in the future. If you are to be delivering good work, you will really need to be able to work in a group. And then you need even the shy people, even the alpha people, you will need them at one point or another. So learn to deal with them. So it's very important in this process to do a lot of talking. So we can make diagrams, and we can do funny presentations, and we can do anything we've been doing extensively during this week, and we've seen it in other workshops. But I don't think we talk too much, enough. I'm sorry. We don't talk enough. There's a lot of lecturing. You'll be listening to people telling you this and that, and they try to provoke you, or they're throwing interesting things to you, or even garbage, and it's very funny and provoking. But real talking involves a dialogue. It really involves a dialogue. So, and I think we're not doing that enough. So even in the lectures, all of you are invited to come up with questions, but I've heard very few questions being provided with an answer, an adequate answer. There's always an answer, but half of them are, yeah, either statements or I don't know what, but it's not a dialogue. So, what we suggest is that today we devote the morning to this dialogue type of thing, and this is very interesting, but also very problematic for us because there's just 3 of us, and there's 10 groups, and there's a group with the bloggers and the anthropologists. So we've asked to come up with some aids, and Rachel will discuss about the objective of the dialogues and probably also about the people who help us. Okay. I will hand out this paper to you in English and Russian because I think it's important for you to be able to read it later on. So don't worry if you miss something.
Okay, so today we are, in the spirit of the Eames video, we're going to zoom in and out of our space station and try and think about the connections that are happening, particularly in the social and cultural plan that we set up for our space station. The connections, if there are any, to that experience and our experience of Opus in our group work here. So we've printed out the social and cultural design questions again to re-provoke that conversation. But it's the space station has been a bit of an excuse to use our brains to multiply the possibilities that are technological and social and cultural and ecological possibilities. But what we've done up there is we've designed a certain working community, and we've been a working community here as well. And we've thought very clearly about obstacles in a way that I think was particularly productive yesterday. And now we're going to zoom back into the reality of our groups and take another look at the crazy plans we came up with for social and cultural life in our space station, and think if we can apply them to something like Opus. Yeah? So we're going to reframe our space station and think about how realistic it is, particularly in terms of the social and cultural questions. We're going to look at the ideas that we planned and see if they apply to our time here, and think about the difference between social life in space that we designed and social life that we're having here. What is the difference between the difficulties that we thought would arise yesterday and the difficulties of implanting a social cultural program like that into something like Opus? Yeah? Would it be possible for you to program one of these crazy, ambitious, utopian social cultural programs into something like Opus? What would happen? What would you think about implanting something like that? Would there be difficulties? Are you excited about it? What does even asking these social and cultural questions in a context like this, what does that make you think about in terms of what's here and what's not here? What you would like to see happen? What you think might need more room to develop? Things like this. So we're going to go around and just chat with you about the ideas that you came up with in the last 3 days in this area when you were thinking that it couldn't happen. So in space, you know, we could let our brain roam anywhere and we could come up with all these crazy plans. But it's very interesting to think about whether or not those things can be realistic conversations. And we're going to take a look at all of those plans that we came up for our individual space stations and see what happens if we think that parts of them could be realistic, parts of them could be applied to this Opus experience that we're having. Yeah? And we're going to come around and we're just going to sit with you and talk about that and see what you guys think amongst yourself about this cultural conversation, this social conversation, what it is, what's happening there, what kind of experience you've actually developed thinking that it wasn't going to happen in real life. But now what happens if you think it could be developed in real life? Yeah? I think that's hopefully pretty clear. But if it's not, we're going to spend some time talking about that today.
The people who we asked to help us, can they come forward and talk with Rachel outside? We've been also thinking of whether we should be leaving this encapsulated room and go outside on the grass, but we're not sure whether we can control the group or manage the group. But if people want to go somewhere else with their group, it's fine with us as long as you stay in contact with us. Tell us where you are and where we may find you.
We agree.
Yeah, but don't turn it into a chaos because we won't be able to control it. So don't go anywhere where we can find you. So yeah, but please help us out because there's just 3 of us.
I think we should go on the grass outside.
Who would like to stay here and who is going to the heading for the grass? Is there any group who's rather staying here? So all of you will go to the grass? Please, come on. Yeah? Okay, let's go then. Let's go and see what happens. We might be in total chaos up there. Happening in the circle is on film because we need it as a deliverable. Do you know what I'm saying? Can somebody communicate that to him? And the rest, come over here and form this circle and hold each other's hands and sing in one happy bind us all together. Hands across the water.
So we're gonna sit on the ground up here. So we need to move some of these chairs and tables back there. Yeah.
Come forward and form a circle. So now I need these alpha men who take the lead. Where are those alpha men? Push aside all the hesitant people and take control. Taras, where are you?
Инсайд и помнишь, как мы сразу говорили, я просто спросил. Да, но он инсайт у тебя наступит, когда ты прочувствуешь вот эти состояния. То есть не по содержанию, а ощущения. То есть вот это состояние страха, тошнота, ты его когда чувствуешь, это шаг к инсайту.
This is taking too long. Come on, everybody.
То есть вот этого не знаю. Вот как знаю о том, что инсайт это инсайт выражен в синопсисе.
We want to see some Russian discipline now. Come on, form that circle. I'm commanding you to form that circle. I have no authority. What we should do? Who said that? Come forward and arrange this thing. Have everybody seated in a circle. And
Ребят, давайте быстренько организуемся и сядем в кружочек, но это я на всякий случай. Давайте счет обратный. Та команда, которая быстрее всех сядет, сегодня победила. Ёлки-палки. Ну ладно, тогда на проигравшего играем. 1, 2, 3. Быстрее, 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 ребят, садимся, вы сейчас проиграете. 8, 7, Сели, отлично.
Можно с еще Wi-Fi обращать? У меня еще гиг есть, нормальная скорость.
Okay. First of all, wait, sorry.
We're losing momentum here.
Ребят, быстрее заходите в круг, нужно сесть.
Okay. Okay, first of all, the reason why we've set you up like this is because we've basically gotten to the point where I think we're all having a very similar conversation with each other that crisscrosses all of our groups. So we're not speaking as individuals so much now with this conversation, and we're not necessarily speaking just as groups, so I think we all have something to say to each other. And hopefully we can have this conversation. We've got about 15 minutes left. So we're going to start talking about the conversation that each of your groups had about this social and cultural realistic strategy for thinking about programming your ОтУС experience. And you all had some really fantastic ideas, and hopefully every single one of those ideas can get a brief little moment today to be heard by everyone else. So if you would like to, let's first just have someone from each of the groups give a very short sample of what you've been talking about, and then we'll open up the space so that anyone who wants to elaborate on the conversation that we've just been having outside can keep going. So we're just going to keep talking, we're going to keep passing the mic around, and if I think that you've had the mic for too long, I'm just going to take it off you very respectfully and give it to the next person, okay? So,
okay. Rachel, should we be taking care of who gets the microphone? Because I see Taras, he's jumping up, he can't wait. Maybe.
We will.
Okay.
We will. Yes. Okay. So can anyone just volunteers for the first round from each of the groups? Let's just start with it. You can start.
I may be saying obvious things, but I will tell what we have been discussing and so on and so forth. One of the main things we have been discussing of what we do that make our life, our cultural life, our social life on the station sustainable and avoid conflicts and so on. The post that we should create some things. First, we need not to declare, but to create the system of values, the system of true ОtУС values, what is available for us, and in front of what we have been forming the ОtУС communities. On the basis of these values, declaring some other things, I think we should incorporate maybe the codex of ОtУС students, what ОtУS students shouldn't not to do in any situation, some kind of like codexes and their need and so on and so forth, that just help to self-formalize the community to avoid bad things, not to direct to some place, but to avoid some bad things.
Okay. More. You had concrete ideas. There's three of them. Three. You had one thing called horizontal.
Okay.
You had a, sorry, is this one working? You had a very nice idea called horizontal something. What was that about?
Okay. So it was the next step. And adding the concept. First, concept of adequate horizontal tutoring. So co-tutoring of each other, helping maybe to find the spheres of the person is good and to direct, to help some information. For example, yesterday some girl came to me and asked, do I know something about the cavitation processes, and maybe I can help him with searching to the professor that working in the sphere. I do know that information, and I will help her to find that information. And I think each of us had such potential and information to co-tutor, to co-help in making of true horizontal information boundings.
Okay, and this touches on the question of community, the community of Opus, and different ways of thinking about the structure. Does any of the groups have something to continue from the conversation that you were having with your group? The last group I just spoke to was speaking about this. Yep.
So I think one of the problems which Opus has, it's the definition of Opus student. So what differentiates Opus from another organizations? What is the specific feature of Opus? In our group, we discussed that when we explain our friends beyond Opus what Opus is, they can't understand, because we don't know what is the specification of Opus. So, and how to solve this problem? I think Opus has to have some direction, not a mix of courses, lectures, and workshops, but the only one wide way of its development, something like that.
Like the guys in our group, we were thinking a lot about communication, and we thought that there is some, so we lack communication between the management and the students, and also between the students on the ground level. And one of the problems that we identified was that we don't really understand our goals. So we don't know, we as students don't know our personal goals, and we don't know what we want from Opus. And it seems like that management doesn't understand this either, so they don't know what they are going to give us, what they want to reach. And as a solution, we thought that from our side we could discuss, so we could self-organize in groups, so at the active people, this 6%, and try to identify our own goals and try to mix them in a kind of to understand what we want to get from this structure. And also one of interesting opinions was that maybe it's too short, this time period is too short, that in 3 years we cannot really expect that something's going to change. So these things which we are doing here, they are very basic. We're trying to build kind of a new society or a new group within the society, and this lasts for years. And maybe it's too early to tell now if the original idea was bad or good, or how are we going to change it.
In the group we talked about problems of Opus, probably we spent too much time to this, but in the end there was one concrete idea about which solves one of the problem. The problem is that sorry. The problem is that lots of us want to work with real projects, but not on something abstract. And the proposition is to talk about our real projects between students. Moscow students remember about the Students for Students project, where students made lectures about something interesting, and we proposed to make a meeting where we can talk about our projects, and this shouldn't be something, that conversation between the startupper and investor. We shouldn't sell our projects. We can just talk about our interesting projects. And I know that there are many people which didn't present their projects yet in Skolkovo for all the students, and we can just divide into clusters, probably IT, biomedicine, and so on, and to communicate based on our real lives. So that's it.
Does anyone have something to add to that or something that hasn't come up yet? Ah.
In our team, we try to discuss about very specific things, and we discuss about garbage. In our station, we in our station our garbage recycled by robots, but we think that in ОтУС garbage is projects, and we try to offer some solutions. And the first solution is make a database where people can offer own projects to everybody. And it's the first, and second, it's a fridge for projects. I have projects, but I can't do anything with, and I offer my projects for everybody, and all of us can put and
just freeze.
no, can put no. No, can took the project. Хорошо, дайте на русском. Ну, такой холодильник проектов, то есть у меня есть проект, есть идеи, но я не могу, не хочу, не могу, не знаю им заниматься. Я его кладу в холодильник, и любой может взять его оттуда и заниматься. Ну, не ярмарка, это именно холодильник.
Нет, не кладбище. Кладбище это то, что провалилось.
Мы рассматриваем... Нет, да. Если для тебя это балахолка, для меня это холодильник. Вот. Это холодильник. Ты поставил туда продукт, и любой может открыть дверцу и забрать его. И это такие, там, условно говоря, правила игры. Вот. Первая часть — это создание базы данных, потому что там заполнение условной анкетки на проект отсеять 70, на мой взгляд, 70% ну, вот, дурацких, ну ладно, нежизнеспособных проектов. Вот. То есть, ну вот, сама процедура именно заполнения анкетки отобьет у многих желаний. Нету экспертного совета. Нету экспертного совета. Просто база данных и холодильник. Пока все, два решения. Нету отсева, нету просто базы данных и холодильник. Все.
I think I understood that great idea, which was about a second-hand shop for projects. Does anyone? I mean, this is getting really interesting. So we can keep adding to projects like this, but I think also people had similarly interesting suggestions that were quite concrete and specific and solving particular problems. And we have something here.
Try in English, but I'm not sure. So the main idea that in ОтУС it should be freedom of choice. So we have main 3 or 4 points. Ouch! Okay. So I try. So first it's correlate what Teres have said, that it should be tutoring students for students. В общем, студенты должны вводить, должны делать вводную часть для новых студентов, и должно быть обязательно неформальное именно общение, ивенты, ну, так, event party, да, for new students. Mentoring, tutoring и Это первое, да. Второе, индивидуальное, самостоятельное проектирование своего пространства и времени. Self-assembly of time and space. То есть человек должен сам выбирать время обучения в зависимости от своих потребностей, там, циклов и так далее. Да, и Лёш, да, то есть, чтобы человек лучше адаптировался, когда он входит в систему, он должен видеть, как люди двигаются по этой системе, то есть, чтобы каждый человек, который сформировал свою траекторию, он ее где-то вывесил, и она была доступна для других, чтобы они могли видеть эту траекторию. И последний момент со станции, то, что у нас вот раковые эти больные, мы их сравнили с нами. В каком ракурсе? В каком ракурсе? То, что раковые больные, как правило, зациклены, да, на том, выживут они, не выживут, и это блокирует их самореализацию, да, то есть у них вот только все мысли об этом, и дальше они не знают, как им реализовываться. Сравнили с нами в каком смысле? То, что нам сейчас ставят, по сути, блок на предпринимательство, то есть наоборот, не блок, а фокус на предпринимательство, установку на предпринимательство. И если мы принимаем эти правила игры, даже не будучи предпринимателем в душе, то мы, соответственно, блокируем свое развитие в чем-то в другом, в других скиллах.
Раз. Я, с вашего позволения, встану, чтобы меня все видели. Нет, лучше по-русски. I'm sorry, I will be in Russian because it will be more specific for our students. And, у нас у всех космическая станция. Каждая космическая станция это я одновременно не выражаю мысли своей группы, да? То есть, может быть, она совпадает, а может и не совпадает, потому что у каждого человека свое мнение. Каждая станция — это профессиональное сообщество. Сообщество людей, которые пришли со своими целями уже в готовое сообщество. Мы, студенты, как правило, мы еще не профессионалы. У нас нет наших... Они есть там, эти профессиональные цели. Но мы еще не пришли в это сообщество как готовые профессионалы. Так вот, если ОтУС будет дальше развиваться как профессиональное сообщество, заточенное именно на технологическое предпринимательство. Я не знаю, технологическое предпринимательство хорошо или плохо, к предыдущему Каню, то есть отрезаем мы что-то или нет. Я говорю о том, что в профессиональных сообществах у них есть конкретная концентрация и конкретные цели. В детском саду целей пока нету, потому что мы профессионально еще никто не определен. И люди в профессиональные сообщества, они приходят сами, и они уже отобраны жизнью. То есть он профессионал, он пришел. А у нас получилось так, что мы талантливые, умные, нас отобрали, а вот что дальше, непонятно. Вот. И если ОтУС ориентируется на технологическое предпринимательство, как на профессиональное сообщество, то в этом сообществе уже будет цельность. Будет цель и будет какое-то, коммуникация, не коммуникация, не знаю, но что всех этих людей уже будет вести единая звезда. Вот как-то так. Спасибо.
Does that work? Yeah. I spoke to a number of women outside who had a whole lot of things to say, so make sure that you also put your hand up. Yeah?
So in our group, we discuss different topics, and I think we concentrate on the topic of communication. And the thing is that the idea of making this big open space where people are willing to communicate, where those barriers that usually come across the people when they try to share their ideas, they are sort of destroyed. And the thing is that the ОтУС is such a place where they bring people together and try to make the conversation easy and try to make the conversation sort of the thing that everyone wants to do. And so our idea is to make this conversation possible and make it as much as easy as it can be. So we are thinking of such thing as how we discuss the sort of a cards or something like this, where if you have something, if you're ready to speak, you have this green card. If you're not, you have this red card. And this is sort of an instrument that will help you to understand that I'm ready to speak, he's ready to speak, and okay, we can speak. Not just thinking of, okay, he's standing there, probably he's thinking on something's going on in his mind, but maybe I'm not the one who you want to speak with. So the idea is to make these instruments that will help people to communicate.
No, yes. I have a additional mark for I've been to this group, and they actually you did a good idea. Then the ОтУС students they come together, making a box and put all the gadgets there, and after that people you don't have any you don't have any borders, so you start to communicate. There's not such a thing that can try to mess this. That was a really good idea. I don't know why didn't you talk about this. So and another, so just a huge big box, and if you take it off, you just buy from ОtУС or something. And I've been to the another group, and there's a lot from Dimas, and there's a huge of good talks about their spaceship, that the ideas that probably made for a spaceship, and after that they translated to the real life, and it was talks about the leadership. So it's in this spaceship, it's supposed to be the leader on the earth, so nobody could kill him on the spaceship, but they figure out that we need a leader inside of the team, because investors or something who gives the money can change, but they need a leader inside of it. Also, we talk about the it's too much. Leadership and the.
Can you maybe
you had a list.
Just a few. Можешь повторить по-русски еще два пункта, которые ты говоришь, потому что немножко абстрактно звучит.
Ну, мы говорили первое там в одной группе про коробку, в которой можно было скинуть все гаджеты. Убрать, да, внешние раздражители вообще. Да. Второе, мы говорили, что все пункты, которые мы говорили там про лидерство, все, ну, на корабле это выглядит прикольно, все, что мы можем вынести каких-то там лидеров снаружи, но в жизни все получается что немножко по-другому. Вот это как раз переключение было очень интересно.
Чтобы это, в общем, было еще два пункта, быстро. На корабле лидер был на земле, и поэтому пытались понять, можно ли сделать лидера вне ОтУСа. Это первый пункт. Второй пункт, это связано с виртуальной реальностью. На корабле можно было уйти в загам надолго. Условно говоря, мы предлагаем идею, что можно выйти из ОтУСа на время, на 2 месяца, на полгода и вернуться.
Нет, добровольно.
И
добровольно вышел, не можешь там.
Нет, красная карточка терминов, которые... Чтобы отдохнуть или что?
по-разному, отдохнуть, заняться чем-то другим, осмыслить себя, я не знаю, что угодно.
Именно то, что человек не хочет общаться в этот конкретный момент, и он говорит об этом, он уходит, но он потом возвращается. И еще мы говорили о том, что свобода все-таки важна, то, что если слишком много строгих правил, то люди чувствуют себя некомфортно, они боятся что-то нарушить. Если правила, они именно на системе ценностей, про которую говорил Тарас, когда люди понимают, что вот это хорошо, надо делать это гораздо больше стимулирует к деятельности, чем ограничения и строгие правила. И еще очень важно взаимное уважение. То есть у нас первый отбор был такой, что люди понимали, что это некоторый уровень. То есть там все умненькие, и априори предполагалось, что, начиная говорить с человеком, ты знаешь, что у него определенный интеллектуальный уровень, и это упрощало коммуникацию.
Well, our team, friends, thanks. Our team suggests two requirements for Opus students. The first is ability and skills of self-education. We discussed this problem, and this criteria, this requirement is necessary for students of Opus because Opus isn't a university in the full sense. It can't give you the full knowledge in the knowledge area. It can only give you the review perhaps of this area, the direction where you can move in this area, and you should create your progress in this area by yourself. You should continue this progress, so you need these skills and this ability of self-education. And it's necessary for your individual progress, of the Opus student. And the second requirement is for the whole progress of the whole community and the effect of this community of Opus for the country, for the people outside Opus. This requirement is about ability to organize something in education. For example, the Opus student understands that he wants to learn something on the Opus lection seminar. He understands that this is very interesting and I want to learn it, but nobody in the university, now there are no courses in the universities about it because it's a new domain. So he should organize this course in his university or in Opus. He should have this ability and intention. And it will be effect of the Opus for the people outside it, for the education in global vision. So. Два критерия для студентов. Первый, чтобы был возможен их личный прогресс, необходима их способность к самообразованию, они должны это уметь. Ну, конечно, Опус готов совершенствовать, это необходимо, но у них должны быть такие навыки, такие способности, потому что Опус — это не полноценный университет, и он может вам дать направление, какое-то ревью области, но вам, чтобы увидев что-то интересное, вам необходимы навыки самообразования, чтобы в эту область потом самостоятельно углубиться и самостоятельно изучить. Вот, потому что Опус — это не полноценный университет. И второе, чтобы был прогресс уже не индивидуальный, а прогресс Опуса как комьюнити, как организации, чтобы был какой-то эффект из Опуса наружу, необходима способность студентов что-то организовывать. Ну, в принципе, мне кажется, что проект внутри Опуса — это уже часть этого. Это как бы начало, что люди сами формируют образовательные курсы. Но это должно пойти шире. То, о чем говорил нам Алексеев позавчера, что мы должны создавать различные технологические клубы, образовательные курсы в университетах. Когда мы понимаем, что чего-то не хватает, вот этой области ее сейчас нигде нельзя выучить, это нужно и мне, и людям вокруг меня, мы должны пытаться это организовать и каким-то людям и говорить: давайте вот сейчас студентам это нужно, им негде это выучить, давайте это сделаем. Ну, или внутри Опуса, или в каких-то университетах совместно с ОтУС.
Алло. Я хотела бы добавить по поводу развития ОПУСа как сообщества. Я скажу на русском, чтобы всем, студентам было понятно. Вот мы сейчас подняли несколько вопросов. Тарас говорил про горизонтальный тьюторинг между студентами, взаимодействие, также про создание идеалов сообщества, к которому мы должны стремиться. Ценности, да, вот ценности, которые мы все разделяем. И также вот в группе обсуждения мы говорили о том, что нету такой вот связи, допустим, между новичками и те, которые уже давно в ОтУСе там общаются, как понимают, секут фишку. Да, есть конкретное предложение, я просто немножко тут думала и придумала. Допустим, есть такая традиция интересная тьюторинга, то, что когда каждый новичок, первокурсник ОтУСа приходит, и каждому первокурснику по жеребьевке назначается один тьютор со 2-го года. Один студент, который будет отвечать на вопросы, там должен быть... И помимо этого, вот развитие интеграционных вечеринок. У нас была интеграционная вечеринка, это классная идея, на мой взгляд, но для того, чтобы создать именно сообщество, мне кажется, не хватает уникальных ритуалов, которые существуют только в ОтУСе, как катание на тазиках в Бауманке. Вот что-то, что отличает нас. Да, посвящение. Это может быть смешно, но мне кажется, с точки зрения человеческой психологии зачастую играет важную роль. В игровой форме создать то, что вот после этого ты принадлежишь какому-то такому сообществу. Это маленькая деталь, которая может создать связи в самом начале поступления в открытый университет.
Спасибо. В нашей группе мы говорили о вопросе о том, что насколько открытый университет, да, то, что с одной стороны он вроде бы открытый, да, потому что любые люди могут посещать его, а с другой стороны он как бы закрытый, потому что только студенты именно ОтУСа, они обладают некоторыми возможностями. Вот. И рассуждали, то есть, хорошо или плохо, и что с этим можно сделать, да. Дальше. Также мы обсуждали, почему, вообще Сколково это именно ОтУС, это международная вообще такая точка или нет. И мы сошлись на том, что, скорее всего, и мы должны стать международными людьми, потому что вот это вот все образование и сейчас, то, что к нам приезжают иностранные лекторы, то, что мы должны вот это вот все впитать и потом быть послами в общество, чтобы доносить, в общем, вот эту вот международную какую-то изюминку, традицию, и тем самым мы сами выросли, да, с помощью ОтУСа, и тем самым еще помогать развиваться, вообще обществу в целом. Помимо этого, мы проводили параллель, то что, в общем, к нам пришли и сказали, вы тут получаете удовольствие от разговора, и мы сразу начали говорить вообще на совершенно другие темы, не об ОтУСе, не о космосе, и потом поняли, почему бы не провести параллель между ОтУСом и удовольствием. И тогда мы сошлись на том, что когда вот именно мы обучаемся, мы должны получать от этого удовольствие. И вот рассуждали, в чем ассоциируется, да, удовольствие, или это может быть, как вчера сказал Гijs, это там, да, вечный кайф от обучения, или же это что-то другое. Да, или это там для каждого что-то свое, когда он с помощью вот самого развития ищет в себе что-то. И, конечно же, у нас еще зашла тема за образование, то, какими будут людьми там через 70 лет, да, к 2080 году, потому что у нас станция как раз в этом-то году, и как именно влияет вот отсутствие, в данный момент, да, развиваются технологии, книг становится все меньше, люди меньше читают, больше смотрят, и что же будет с людьми? То есть мы попробовали пофорсайтить, вот, я думаю, каждый для себя что-то понял из этого. Может быть, конечно, получится, это как-то там дальше, может быть, реализовать именно, в дальнейших, может быть, даже каких-то проектах. Вот. Ну, об этом говорили.
Да, собственно, я что хочу сказать, я была в той же группе, обсуждали мы то же самое, да? Соответственно, что вы...
А вдруг нет?
Ну, на самом деле, видимо, нет, потому что вот мы, общаясь с Максимом, вынесли для себя несколько другие вещи. Мы пришли к тому, что мы просто не знаем, куда дальше развиваться. И куда дальше пойдет наука, образование. Нет, а проблема была в том, не то, что мы ничего не знаем, а какие-то точки мы не смогли поставить, как было, не знаю, там 50 лет назад, когда мы знали, что мы хотим в космос, и мы шли в космос. У нас было большое направление развития, мы это сделали. А что будет дальше, какая большая глобальная идея сейчас, кто знает.
So, and my propositions are the follow. We have to build an alumni club, like for example in Harvard University. In our team, we discussed this example of a very well done network of the alumni. And the second proposition for Opus is I forgot it. I forgot it in Russian too.
Does anyone have a few items that we haven't addressed yet that definitely came up in your group that you were having an agitated conversation about? Because now's the time to make sure we remember those things.
Okay, some little concept. There is some interesting approach on the Russian management that is clearly have been shown building Skolkovo, Skolkovo Tech, and even ОтУС, that when we need to build something new, there's usually our administration bringing some clever guys from abroad, so they will come, they will teach us, and will help us to build. So I will not want to hurt you it anyway, but the Skolkovo Tech have been built in some way. It was a very huge discussion how to be built the Skolkovo itself, and now the ОтУС on the first year there were some tries and conceptions or just cloning, but I want to conclude that I think that we always should try to develop our own way, which is with our mentality when coincide and so on and so forth. Not just to ask someone to come and to teach us how to do, to grow it from the downside and to grow the values, not to bring, to adapt, to grow the values in the society and to build based on that values and not just clone copy and ask clever guys how to do it. Thank you.
Does anyone else have one of these points that definitely came up very clearly that we haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, I remembered. Could I have something? I remembered. So one of the problem of Opus is brand. What is brand? Brand is the story of success. The more will we be successful in entrepreneurial or something another way, the more Opus brand will be recognized. So, example of Harvard University. Why is it so recognizable? Because there are a lot of billionaires, a lot of top officials, senators, and others. If we, in a couple of years, occupy the position in the Russian government, on the federal level, the positions in international companies or Russian companies, if we create a successful businesses, so this situation shows a world that Opus is a really good place to live and study. That's the only one way, I think.
You need to grab a pizza, apparently. Thank you so much, everybody. This was a really fantastic conversation. I think that you've enjoyed it as much as we have, definitely. So thank you very much for contributing and for mixing it up a bit. And we're very interested in your feedback from now until we leave, and we're going to continue with this conversation as well. So also thank you for adapting to the different formats that we're doing, because we're trying things out based on what you're telling us you would like to try, and this was an exercise and I think it worked, but we had a few concerns, so thank you very much for rolling with it, and we're going to keep rolling. Yeah?